Hey everyone, welcome to Anti-Riggers United. Today we have an AMA with Coinology. So let's get started by having the team introduce themselves and give us a little bit about background about what their personal and crypto experience is like in the real world in crypto, like what their qualifications are, what have they done, in specifically if there's any other projects they have worked on. Like what the experience in the DeFi space is like, and then we'll go from there.
No worries, I'll go first. So my name's Martin, I'm CEO of Coinology. Thanks for having us in the AMA. I look forward to having the debate about the disclaimers. My background is I've been in crypto for about 2.5 years. So I came in similar to most people, got told about it, thought I'd come in, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, and realized just how volatile it was. Didn't go so well, I suppose. And then slowly started to hover over Twitter, hover over other websites. Established there was a bit more to crypto than the kinds of things that are listed on Binance and Coinbase. I then sort of gravitated towards buying some IDOs, buying some BSC pad IDOs and some other IDOs and buying into pre-sales and fair launches, and kind of got hooked to the whole space. Where Coinology come from, I'm sure we'll come on to, but that's part of the reason why we came up with the idea for Coinology and what we're trying to do. Personal background, legal and compliance, business development, and some marketing as well. So, I've been working professionally for 25 years. So I'm not one of your 20-year-olds sat in my mum's basement doing this. So it has come from decent experience in real world as well. And Lucas has the longer crypto experience, so I'll let him go through his background, and then we can come on to probably why we started or why we're looking at starting Coinology.
Hey guys, can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, awesome. So I'm the guy without the British accent, so I'm less cool, but yeah, that's not a problem because I'm the CTO of Coinology, so I'm responsible for everything tech related. My background itself, it comes from IT. I've worked in a few fintechs, the biggest one actually in my country. I also have a degree in IT, and my journey in crypto started in 2017. I was one of those people that actually just bought the top of an altcoin, like when Bitcoin was around 20,000. So basically, you guys understand how that went. But instead of being one of those people that actually buy the top and sell the bottom and then just leave, I actually spent all of those hours, it was 8 hours daily, just reading about crypto, researching and understanding the technology behind it. I got really hooked. I actually was very fascinated by the idea of decentralization, by being your own bank. As my experience grew, I actually gravitated towards a different opinion, but in general, the Web3 space interested me, and I've been doing it full time for 1.5 years now. So yeah, and that's how actually Coinology came into mind, because I met Martin via Telegram in one of the investor chats, and I have seen a lot of problems in the DeFi space and a lot of solutions lacking, and that's how I got to speaking to Martin, and we decided to actually fix that, and that's how Coinology got to be.
All right, thanks. So you guys are the two main devs, right? Is there anyone else? Like, what about Solidity, contract writing? Is that third party or?
We basically, we're the two co-founders. We then currently now have in-house QA, in-house full stack developer, 2 graphic designers that we've hired. We then, contract-wise, we outsourced to a developer. And part of the original raising and the private sale with GemPad is we actually had the whole thing audited and vetted by Chris the Skeptic, who's one of their partners for vetting. And he went through the entire contract, the team, our background and everything else, and vetted it. So the contract, in his words, was one of the cleanest he's ever seen. So that was outsourced, but it was outsourced to a professional developer, not somebody you find on Fiverr.
All right, thank you. And I see that you guys are KYC'd, okay, vetted, the audited by Interfi. So are you guys publicly doxed?
We're not publicly doxed in the sense that anybody can go and find us on Facebook and everything else, because I think that stops short of probably breaching general privacy. We're doxed to Conda, for example, because he's working very closely with us, some other partners as well. We've got no issue doxing with like professional organizations. We've done KYC, full KYC with PinkSale, full KYC with GemPad. We're not going to completely publicly dox because I just don't think that's fair on my friends, family, us internally as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had no issue with that. Just wondering. What about the pictures that you guys are using on the website? Is that your photos?
Yeah, and obviously Conda can verify that, and other people can verify that because obviously they would have seen our ID and stuff, you know.
Okay, and for KYC, was it both of you that did the KYC?
Yes, on different platforms. There's one platform I think PinkSale was just me. BSC News, which is one of our partners, I think might be just Lucas. GemPad, I think, is both of us. At different times, like it's been different things with different platforms depending on what their requirements have been. Obviously, exchanges will need to be both of us and really detailed, as you may or may not know.
Yeah, definitely. All right, yeah, that's fine. Like, I mean, I really have no issue with docs on docs. It's really because a lot of times, even KYC or Safe badge, whatever. It's like the more you have, the actually higher odds you have of like scamming or running away with the funds or whatnot. So I really have no problem with either way. So let's move on to the actual project itself. Do you guys have like an elevator pitch or introduction or like something like a presentation?
Yeah, I'll try and do the elevator pitch, the first part of it. I'll let Lucas do the second part of it, and hopefully we're not in the elevator for too long, right? So effectively what we're trying to build is like a next generation DeFi hub for like the masses. Going back to like what I said to you originally about like how I kind of moved away from traditional exchange tokens and maybe more into like small, medium, lower cap tokens. As somebody who was new into the space, I found it pretty difficult because you had to use various different platforms. So if you want to go onto CoinMarketCap, for example, to look at different things related to a token, you couldn't always guarantee that they were up to date or the charts were accurate. Then if you wanted to go and swap it, you might have to go to PancakeSwap, you might have to go to Uniswap. If you wanted to chart it, you might have to go to PooCoin, you might have to go to TradingView. Now, obviously, there's another solution, which is Dex Screener for like charting and stuff. You might find tokens on CoinSniper, CoinHunt, CoinGecko. I mean, there's loads of them, right? And our thing when we used to chat about this was the fact that there's not anything that just does everything. It's not so easy in the DeFi space to basically do everything in one place, but not just do everything in one place, but have it as a nice user experience. Then with additional sections that we're looking to bring in, obviously NFTs and ENS. Lucas will go through ENS because it's one of his passions. It just basically for us, it's about having all the tools in one place. So whether it's charting, whether it's a DEX, for example, whether it's project information that's up to date, security systems that we hope will help users to like do research in terms of individual tokens and their distributions and wallet holders and everything else. Live support for projects so they can update their tokens lifetime, and listing with us and being able to advertise with us. So there's like a whole range of things. We've then obviously got plans for V2 and V3. V2 we're looking at like Q1 next year. V3 we're looking at summer. So that eventually it gets to the point where projects or users can ideally do everything in literally in one place. That's the idea behind the platform. Lucas, do you want to go through like a couple of the individual features and things?
I think that's like enough for the elevator pitch, but one thing I would like to add, yeah, because I personally love to go on
forget about
monologue.
the elevator bit.
Yeah, I love to go on monologues and explain the platform, but since it's an elevator pitch, I'm going to be very fast about it. But the main thing is that we're building an all-in-one platform, but we're actually building it from scratch. Like most of our competitors, they have like this copy-paste platform, and the original one is awkwardly made itself. So you just have more copy-paste platforms that are awkwardly built. They're not fun to use, and generally it's a bad user experience. And what we're doing with Coinology is that we're actually building everything from scratch. We're not using APIs. Everything is done by QAs that have years of experience, graphics designers that actually know the psychology behind creating a good website, and for it to actually be cool to use, and that it's not awkward in general. Because as I've said, it's really hard going like PooCoin and having all of these solutions, but it's really just clunky to use in general.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think your actual use case is really needed in this space, because everything else currently is really annoying. Like, it's a pain in the ass. Like PooCoin, for example. I like that one versus like Dex Tools and all those other ones. I don't know why. It seems simpler. Like the information is easier for me to find. But then like watch lists don't work. And that's the most important thing. If I have like 30 tokens I'm invested in and I put them on a watch list and then I refresh my tab or, restart my computer and it's all gone, then it's like I literally have to make a spreadsheet just to track all the tokens I have, because there's nothing that really works well for, watching 30 tokens that I'm in. Like that's why sometimes I invest and I forget about it for like 6 months. I'm like, oh shit, totally forgot about this one.
Yeah, and exactly. And I mean, like PooCoin, for example, it's like a charting website, but you have like what? The maximum you can chart is like 1 day. So what the hell? How is that a charting website? No? And it's really important for us to have like a maximum efficient user experience, for it not to be overcomplicated. Like I personally also hate websites where you just come in and there's like a lot of stuff in your face. For example, Dex Tools. It needs to be simple. It needs to be very awesome to use, and that's what exactly Coinology is aiming to be, and that's what we're building.
Okay, so in a box description would basically be, you take CoinGecko, CoinSniper, CoinMarketCap, PooCoin, all of those bundled up into one thing, and that's what you guys are trying to accomplish, but make it like in a simple and easy to use way, right?
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, yes and no, but also we're adding features that haven't been seen in this market and that we personally are very bullish on and think that it will be a main market driver in the future. For example, Ethereum name service domains.
Yeah, I see that. And yeah, NS support, all those other things. Affiliate support, I believe that's really important, because I feel like that's kind of like what drives this crypto space, and that's kind of like how marketing would work. Like a lot of marketing is ineffective, especially in the bear market. But something like affiliates, for example, that's kind of how the whitelists, all those projects are whitelists. That's literally what it was. Is you got to win a whitelist by bringing more people in. So I think an affiliate system is definitely something that would work well in this space, because we have a lot of guys that don't have a lot of money, right? And then they could, like Nigerians, we have a lot of guys in our community that like maybe outside of crypto they don't have enough funds, but just by being part of the community and helping out, they could even make money. Like in this AMA, just stay. Like we have so many guys that won, like even giveaways in our AMAs that went from $0 to like $1,000 just by winning a couple giveaways and then investing into a couple of projects that we had on here, and then it went from like even $0 to 5,000, and that's like in some countries that could be like 2, 3, 4, 5 years salary. So I do feel like affiliate marketing, because like this is what gets the people that are hardworking to really put in, to really get their money's worth out of it, or their time value. And if you have guys in the US,
I was going to say, we want to do that. We want to do that on like a tier system as well. So, they have the opportunity to potentially bring projects to the platform that want to list with us that we can then, like, as we've got a partnership, right? So those projects can then come to you for like full vetting. And those projects can come to you to advertise with you as well. And that's something from an affiliate point of view that means that person's got the opportunity to go up in tiers. Obviously, once we finish designing the affiliate system, there's affiliates to bring projects to us, to bring projects that want to advertise, but then projects that genuinely want to look good in the space.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So speaking of all this is what we discussed so far is basically the use case for the company. By the way, are you guys planning to be registered in an LLC or anything official?
We will have to at some point. At the moment, we're not, and the reason we're not at the moment is because we could form an LLC tomorrow. We quite like the fact. Call us a bit crazy, but we quite like the fact that at the moment the risk is on us, because I think it also gives a bit of confidence to investors, right? We could hide everything behind an LLC tomorrow, pull an FTX, and effectively have no liability to it. So for now, while we're going via the pre-sales, while we're then launching on the centralized exchanges and things, we're going to keep it as it is. We will do when we get to the point of hiring enough people to obviously justify it as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I was asking about that because how you guys say you're not publicly doxed, but I mean I'm not familiar with LLCs in like certain countries, so I don't know if you could create a public entity and still be anonymous to like the public. I don't know.
I think it depends on the setup of the company and the country it's registered in. I think we have, as you can probably imagine, because we're talking to centralized exchanges, we have lawyers, naturally, lawyers that wrote the legal opinions, for example, lawyers that worked on the disclaimers that you mentioned, and ultimately it will come down to them as to what point as well they feel like it's worth us doing that, and then what system that works to. If that means long term the platform's got adoption and everything else, and that means that if someone searches the company they can find us, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think that's all we need to discuss about this right now. And next thing I want to talk about is the actual token itself. How does the token tie in with your DEX, with your platform, and what would be the purpose of the token versus just doing all this without a token?
Okay. There's a number of projects that have tried to launch either not the same thing, because what we're doing is pretty unique. There's things we've gone through on the platform, but have had similar ideas, whether that's, for example, to copy another launchpad, or whether that's, for example, to copy CoinSniper and do a copy paste website and stuff. And adoption is really difficult to get. So part of the reason behind Ology, the actual token itself, is twofold. Obviously, it's a 0% tax token, so it's not like we're raking in fees every time someone buys and sells it. That's one thing that was really important to us because we want the token to be a success. Ology itself, by launching on a tier 1 exchange, means that token immediately has exposure, right? Because that tier 1 exchange would be talking about the token, potential looking at whether we can then do staking with that exchanges or those exchanges as well. The token itself will bring exposure to the platform. The platform will bring exposure to the token. That should help us long term as well, and short, medium term, bring more exposure to the platform and therefore bring more users across, allow the affiliate system to grow really quickly, bring even more to the platform itself. Use cases for Ology, for example, projects when purchasing like advertising spaces or coming to work with us as a partner will be able to get 10% discount when they're paying in the native token. Those tokens will then be locked for 5 years. We're not planning on using them. We understand the majority of people will pay for those kind of services and stables anyway, but some people want to pay obviously in the token. And then for holders, there is currently a vesting and staking platform being built in the background. We then have a revenue share from revenue coming in via the platform, which is really cool because that means that holders of the token, we're not talking reflections on the token because, as I said, it's a 0% tax token, but it is revenue share coming back to holders like proportionately to what they hold. So that's a really cool way of helping the token to be a success.
Okay, since you talked about revenue share, so I guess this is we could go talk about the disclaimers right now. Because based on the disclaimer about it's not deemed a security, not having your rights to founders' profits, but isn't that exactly what you just said? Basically, revenue share is profits from.
I can answer
No,
that one.
Say, well, I'm happy to answer that as well.
Okay, Martin, I'll let you then.
Yeah, like I won't lie to you, the disclaimer thing annoyed me a little bit because ultimately tokens have to have disclaimers. We've already got our legal opinion, and we've shared that with Conda, for example. We've also shared that with the people we're talking to for the exchanges. Those disclaimers are very common. And not only that, the legal opinion, as you know, there are laws around in the United States as to what you can and can't do in crypto. The same with Canada, same with Lithuania. As a project, we have to highlight that. What the user decides to do is entirely up to the user and should be at the user's risk, not the project. So that's the reason you have that into the disclaimer.
Yeah, but if you're already excluding United States, Canada, and Lithuania from this part, the Section 2, why do you need to have the whole disclaimer about the revenue share and security? Because I feel like that does only apply to like Canada and United States.
So the actual disclaimer itself reads that you don't have a right to the profit share. Not having a right to the profit share means you're not a shareholder in the token itself in terms of actually being a shareholder in the business as well. You have a right to the revenue. Okay, so again, these are written by solicitors, right? So you're sort of questioning legal disclaimers which are written by legal people on the basis of how they read, which I understand. But at the same time, those disclaimers are written on the basis that if we go back to the US thing, for example, we have to highlight that we know that there are laws in the US as to what people can and can't do. What those people in the US choose to do themselves is on them, not the project, right? So we have to put that disclaimer in there. We know that, and that disclaimer, by the way, is in hundreds of different projects in different formats. And the reason these disclaimers are in there is highlighting the fact that we are not a coin or a token that is going to disappear overnight, because if we were a token that didn't care, these disclaimers wouldn't be there. So the fact that you're surprised to see something like that actually surprises me, because you would look for things like this that they've actually been carefully written out.
Well, I didn't really see that many, to be honest. I don't really see that many disclaimers and white papers like for the usual
and that's
project.
Kind of my point. But that's kind of my point, right? How many?
But yeah, but the thing is, if you're not going to be registered, but I guess this is really the only purposes, at least in the beginning, is mostly for the centralized exchange part, right? Because if you're not going to be a registered company anyways in the beginning, like this thing, like you don't really need the disclaimers, because you could say you're in any country that you want, right? If you don't have an actual legal entity. And that's what a lot of tokens actually end up doing. They don't have a legal entity. But even the ones they do, like they register usually like somewhere in Malta or...
The disclaimers are the same whether it's run by a legal entity or sorry, an LLC or an LTD. The disclaimers are exactly the same regardless of what the structure of the company is that's presenting the token itself. The legal opinion on the token, by the way, which is obviously sat with the groups that we're talking to with exchanges, is already deemed as not security. So that's already been done. The money's already been invested in that, and that's already been written. So these disclaimers are part of that. Now, what they're basically highlighting is laws in certain countries that we know exist that people choose to abide by or don't. But what we're saying basically is if you choose not to do what you're supposed to do in your own country, that's up to you. Obviously, we can't stop people, and we would, to a certain extent, I have to be careful what I say, but to a certain extent, of course, we wouldn't want people to not come and work with us. But equally, we also have to, if we want to take ourselves seriously, we have to actually put those things in there and make sure that people understand that we're also aware of those.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, this kind of reminds me of FTX, because FTX had a similar, I think even Binance, not Binance.us, but the original Binance, They have a similar
Pretty
thing
much
with
every
yeah, they
pretty
don't want
much
to work
every
with the
single
U.S.
centralized exchange has got it.
Basically, they don't want to work with the U.S. because then the U.S. is going to go after them if their citizens, lose money. They don't want to deal with the SEC, FTC, or any of that stuff because that's what it's easier just to say, sorry, we told them they're not allowed. But then at the end of the day, it's literally just looking the other way. It's kind of like, yeah, we told you guys, and it's up to you what to do. Because I mean, FTX, I literally got an account just using a VPN, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so one thing that I'm a slightly kind of like questioning, not really questioning, but I mean just for my own benefit too. From what I understand, the U.S. has deemed that cryptocurrency is a security, right? Based on taxes, the IRS guidelines, all of that stuff. But I think in the last year or two, they said that cryptocurrencies are a security. So I'm not sure if there's a difference between like a coin or a decentralized token, if that's also a security. But from what I understand, the official U.S. stance on crypto is they are securities. So is that correct, based on
No,
your knowledge?
it's not correct, because if that was correct, you would see all these tokens being delisted and crypto in general just crashing. And that's where you get the XRP case, where people are watching just to get the outcome. But that's not the case, at least for now. And that's why we had the legal opinion done, just that we know that we're not the security, so that we avoid legal problems, because we're very serious about that part.
And just to be clear as well, that story was blown out of proportion. So the SEC actually cited certain cryptocurrencies and said that they felt like their securities, and they still have to go and prove that in court. I've got the list of them in front of me because I've just looked at it. So RLY, DDX, XYO, RGT, LCX, DFX, and KROM. Those are the only ones they even cited. None of those are your BNB, your Ethereum, or everything else. So again, it's one of those news stories that then gets blown up and everything else. But as just going back onto what I was saying, if you look at every single centralized exchange, if you look at the majority of legitimate projects that have got like long-winded GitHubs, mediums, and white papers, they all have very similar disclaimers. And if I would argue that if you've got a project white paper that doesn't contain those things, you've got to ask questions as to why they don't care.
Okay, so if it's not, based on you guys what you're saying, if it's not security, that means if I have profits in crypto, I do not have to pay taxes on it?
That's security isn't relevant to tax.
I'm trying to remember though, because I remember like that was the whole basis on the IRS and the US telling people that they need to actually pay taxes is because they deemed it as security. I mean, I might be wrong because I didn't really dive in that too much.
Those are individual tokens that the SEC have cited. They're not talking about cryptocurrency as a whole. They've cited individual tokens as to which ones they feel are securities. They're not saying the whole of cryptocurrency is a security, because not every cryptocurrency is a stable, or, for example, so some of the ones they've listed, if you look into them, so if you go and look at RLY, for example, if you go and look at RGT, they'll have different things that make them a security. We've already had lawyers look over our white paper, look over everything else. They've deemed us as not a security. That legal opinion gets shared with an exchange. That helps to protect the exchange if anyone ever says, is this a security? But for sure, the SEC have not said the whole of crypto is a security. And yes, you should pay taxes ideally.
I mean, obviously, it's not something that anyone should really ask unless you're an actual, tax attorney, right? So basically, tax advice, legal advice is something that you shouldn't really be asking anyone unless they actually, they actually have all the legal and licenses. Anyway, so I just wanted to make sure, yeah, because it says this is not deemed a security, so I wasn't sure if it's like you just choosing it not to be, or because it's based on the law. Okay, but I think you answered my question. All right, so let's move on.
So it's based on the law. That's why it's a legal opinion done by a solicitor.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move on to the I want to talk about the tokenomics, the different token allocations there. And also one thing that you said in the future you might register. Do you know what country that would be? Like, do you have plans or which countries you're thinking of?
Not as yet, no. Again, that will come down to like discussions with lawyers and discussions with exchanges as to which countries that they would prefer that we register in. It wouldn't necessarily make any difference to us. I pay my taxes in the UK, so it ends up being the same way for me anyway. It would come down to like lawyers and exchanges and things as to whether they feel like it would be beneficial to be registered as an LLC or an LTD or a PLC, and then as to what country that's done in. We haven't had those discussions yet. No.
Yeah, I remember the UK actually had, I believe, 0% tax on cryptocurrency. Or
Yeah,
no, that
not
might have
for
been Forex. That might have been Forex. I think it's Forex
not
actually. Forex
no
earnings.
forex, no, not forex either. It's never had 0% tax. In the UK, you pay capital gains tax. You get an allowance, which is pretty small. After that, you pay a standard 20%. So, but there's never been a 0% tax. No, not on forex or crypto.
Huh. Okay. Maybe it's a different country. Anyways, I might have been confused because it was like a couple years ago. I was talking to people and they're saying they're paying zero tax because now that I thought it was the UK. It might have been another European country. Anyways, moving on.
They were probably just dodging tax.
Maybe. Yeah, that could be it. But I was like, dang, man, if you're making a lot of money, it's worth it just to move, just just so you don't have to, if that's true, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on about the, I know on here on Gempad, Tier 1 centralized exchange listing on launch. I don't know if, yeah, also same thing on Pink Cell. So is this confirmed? You guys are 100% will be launching on a centralized exchange on day one?
Yeah. Well, so what we've done, Conda's been in the groups with us, so he can vouch for that. Pink Sale Gempad also know that we're working with Conda. Conda was in the chat with us 2 hours ago with the company that is organising the exchange. We obviously can't say who. And it can be done effectively within 3 days on the date that we wanted. So yeah, it's done. They've had their conversations with that particular exchange. So yeah, we are pretty much there. So, and we've got plenty of time. Obviously, we've still got like 2.5 weeks until launch.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get on to the juicy part of the discussion. So this is kind of what I'm always really interested in. So basically the token distribution, the vesting schedule. All right, I don't know, looks like this is a better view here. So let's talk about all the sales that have been done so far. Because from example, from seeing this one, it seems to me that there was a seed, private sale, a marketing sale, because there's a raise amount, and a strategic sale. So can you actually explain what sales have been done?
Yeah, so seed sale is done. The raise wasn't as high as the amount that we put into the white paper as the maximum that we would allow to go to the seed sale. So I think we raised about 45,000 in the seed sale. So the rest of those tokens will effectively get burnt, which will reduce the supply, reduce the TG market cap. Private sale, we allowed 6% of the supply. We did the private sale of Gempad. We raised 124 BNB, which I think at the time before the FTX crash, so I think that was worth about $6,000 off the top of my head. And again, the rest of the supply gets burnt. The public sale, as we know, is to come next week. We're actually only doing about 7%. So the additional tokens from that will get burnt as well. So that will reduce the actual raise amount. As you can probably see, I think it says 843. I think we're raising about 280. Just bear in mind as well that 843 was based when obviously crypto prices were a bit higher. The marketing is not a sale. The strategic is not a sale. That is the value of the tokens. So that's not what we've then gone and sold to marketing, because I don't think anybody sells tokens to marketing companies.
Yeah,
But
that's the part that I
basically,
was kind of confused about because it raised
no,
amount.
no,
I'm like, well, what does
that's
that mean?
specifying that like the total amount of allocation that would be available effectively if we wanted to give them out, which actually we've done nowhere near that. And once we've completed the pre-sales, we'll readjust these, and they'll look even more bullish because we'll cut out the supply that obviously wasn't sold at different stages. So I would almost look at this as an absolute worst case scenario of what the tokenomics will look like. And it is 6.41% of the supply in circulation at launch, which is insanely low, and a TGE market cap of 603,000, which for investors is awesome. You then have the fact, if you're looking at the pie chart, for example, that the team tokens are locked for 12 months. And obviously unsold tokens and everything will get burnt. Like we said, tokens coming into the platform will get locked for 5 years, effectively bringing them out of circulation. So it should look really good.
Oh, okay, so the team tokens are locked. Are they currently locked, or will they be locked on Gempad around the pre-sale time, or?
They will be locked. They are not currently locked. Obviously, again, we've advertised all of these rights. So in order for us to actually ever launch on the exchange, we have to follow these. The DAO gets staked forever. So that's forever gone. The team tokens will get locked for 12 months. Marketing tokens, obviously, we've got linear vesting on those, longer vesting than any other allocation. We wanted to do it so that people understood that the team effectively has access to very, very little tokens anywhere near launch. Therefore, investors can just focus on like their investment, staking if they want to, and using the platform and everything else.
Okay, so the DAO is staked forever. How will this work? Because you guys have 0% taxes, and normally staking is done, through token allocations that you give to your investors, or is done through like earning from taxes. So can you explain a little bit about this? How that this 20% it's staked, and what's the purpose of it? What's going to happen with that?
Okay, so vesting and the DAO are two whole different things. So you've got the DAO is related to like community stuff as we go along. Lucas is working on the vesting and the staking platform. I'll get him to go through that in a second, just to give you a heads up, Lucas. The DAO. So if you think about, I'm trying to think of some other DAOs that are pretty well known. Kyber's a pretty well known DAO. So those, for example, those tokens will be locked forever. When it comes to then to like major changes related to the token in the future, holders get a vote, right? Holders over a certain percentage would get a vote. So that's what the DAO is related to. The vesting is different. So Lucas, do you want to go through the vesting side of things? I know there's not too much we can share, but yeah, if you want to.
We're still working on the vesting contracts, but I can say that the vesting and all the staking stuff is almost done. But we can't share that many details until we launch, because it's still in the works, and I don't want to give false information out.
Okay. All right. So one comment I would like to make is, so all these other percentages like strategic partnerships, the marketing wallet, right, and the team, I feel like these three, if you're gonna basically cut all the rest in half, for example, you raised only half of private sale, half of public sale, then what, currently on the white paper, what it says, let's say seed sale was, because I think from what you were saying, they roughly were filled about half or about 1/3 of what's on the white paper, right? So effectively, you're reducing the percentages of these. That makes everything else bigger relative to what you have reduced, right? So let's say public sale gets reduced from 13.5% down to 7%. But if your team still going to be the same, 14%, marketing still 15%, that means it literally doubled in percentage versus all the ones that got reduced, right? So I feel like if you're going to be reducing them because it say it only filled halfway, that all of these wallets should roughly be reduced in a similar fashion, so the actual relative percentage would stay the same.
Okay.
I mean, like, nothing really changes in that part. I know that it's like, it was in 21 where shitcoins were doing that. They were burning half of the supply, so the allocation seemed different, but it doesn't really change anything. The only thing that changes is the market cap, but we still get the same amount of tokens. It doesn't matter.
No, it does change because let's say you wanted to raise, right? Let's say you wanted to raise 150,000, but you only raised 50,000. So you're gonna be burning 100,000 worth of tokens. So it's kind.
Just to be clear though, you'd rather that we still put out 13.5% for a public sale that's unvested on launch. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm just saying. Well, if this is lower, basically, like I think the way the ratios are now, especially with like team tokens being locked for a year, marketing, 15% only being released. But the thing is,
Yep.
if this is 14% out of 100, but let's say you burn all these because they weren't filled by half, now that means that, for example, right now on this chart, the team ratio is roughly close to public sale, right? So let's say after a year, you guys get your tokens, and then you're going to get the vesting is going to start, right? Like, let's see, team mark locked for 12 months and 5% each 30 days. So it starts. When it's 14 to 14, it's roughly equal. It's not that big of a deal. But when everything else is smaller, that means that the value of tokens that the team is getting versus the public is a lot higher in comparison. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I think there's two ways to look at this, right? Because we could still put out a public sale that's 13.5% of the supply. And that would mean 13.5% of the supply hitting the exchange on launch, unvested. If you can imagine which way that means the token goes, then I don't see where we've kind of gone wrong with that. The same with the private sale, the same with the seed sale, right? If you've got 20% of the tokens, and this was a strategic decision, because if you've got 20% of the tokens unlocked on TGE, for example, and those 20% of 6% is what? 1.2% of the supply, and then 1% of the supply on seed sale. That's 2.2% of the supply hitting the exchange on launch, unlocked. That token is not a success. The fact that the team tokens are locked for 12 months, completely locked for 12 months, means that those tokens aren't hitting circulation for an entire year. The marketing tokens, again, if you look at the fact that we're a 0% tax token, and we will have a platform that hopefully short, medium, long term is self-sufficient, those marketing tokens are still the same percentage of the total supply. Invariably, because of the way that we've basically managed this now, we will actually have more buy pressure on launch because there is not such a high percentage of tokens being available to be sold at launch. The fact that we will have, hopefully, again, I have to say hopefully, but hopefully more buy pressure on launch means that actually the team supplies don't need to change in the slightest, because the team supply isn't affected by the fact that we're actually only burning those percentages of supply to benefit investors. I don't think it's fair to say you can have it both ways, right? Because otherwise we could just technically do a public sale that's 13.5% of the supply, because that's what's in the tokenomics, and have the whole tokens hitting the exchange on launch.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a free market. I don't know. Like, I don't know honestly which way is better, because we've seen projects where 70% or 60% of the supply went to pre-sale, and they did fine. And then you also see projects where only 5% went to pre-sale, and then the team basically dumped because they didn't have their tokens unlocked, but their marketing wallet had.
Which project had 60 or 70% of their supply on pre-sale?
I can't think of the top of my head, but for example, all the ones I launched.
Well, in fairness, I don't think you can go around throwing numbers out there without actually, like, you've got to.
Okay.
In
If you
terms
really
of
want
like
to know, like, basically, the two projects that I launched.
The two projects you launched, but what about liquidity tokens as well?
Well, I meant to say 100% went to either liquidity or to pre-sale, whatever, like basically close to 100%, not like 5% or 10%, but to the point where like the other wallets were very small or non-existent. So basically, that all 100% of the tokens went into circulation immediately. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm saying like there's projects that did that and did really well, and there's projects that had a very small It's really about the value you're given to investors. I think that's the part. It doesn't matter about the percentage of the tokens, because the thing is, you could lower everything across the board and then just increase the dollar price per token, whatever.
I kind of get it, because obviously it can work both ways, right? I mean, no projects ever put 60 or 70% into pre-sale because there'd be no tokens going into liquidity. But you may also have 100% going out to circulation, but I would imagine those tokens are going on to a decentralized exchange. And if you've got 100% available at launch, there's nothing left. I mean, there's nothing left to buy other than what gets sold, right? So there's no way that token can even go up, literally physically. So what we're trying to do by having a very small percentage, and the final numbers will actually probably be under 5% going to be available in circulation at launch, means that there is a certain scarcity to it as well. And the idea behind that is that then people through these sales have at least got like confidence that the team, as we say, the only tokens we have available to us effectively are a small percentage of the marketing. The strategic partners or the strategic sale tokens are not the team's tokens. So unless they are going to a partnership, then they're not going to be sold by the team because they're not our tokens in the first place. The only thing we'll have access to in terms of being able to spend at all is the marketing tokens. And in theory, if we've got a self-sufficient platform, we shouldn't need to. And the team tokens, as we say, are locked for an entire year. So we're talking 2020, nearly 2024 by the time they even come to market.
Okay, and the strategic ones are also locked, basically similar to the team ones. They're basically 0% for 12 months. No. Oh, never mind. They're going to get unlocked right away, but it's 0 at TGE, 12-month linear distribution. Okay.
Yeah.
So on day one, you're going to get 1 divided by 365 or whatever it is, or if you want to do it weekly.
Again, the strategic tokens aren't for the team. The strategic tokens are to be used for strategic partnerships, Coles, for example. So,
so how's that different than marketing?
How's that different from marketing?
Yeah, because normally marketing and strategic or partnerships is kind of like the same thing. Like you would use the marketing wallet for calls, for AMAs, for strategic partnerships. So basically, the marketing, I would say the marketing and the strategic, it's like an overlap, because in reality, marketing is kind of used. This strategic partnership is essentially marketing, also, in a way.
Depends what you class the two as, right? Because obviously you've got your bog standard marketing. You've then got like standard partnerships, and then you've got things like going on to potentially other exchanges and stuff. So it depends on which way you look at it, right? Strategic can also reference tokens that, for example, an exchange would want to hold. So those tokens are not there for us to sell. They're there for specific reasons, as and when those reasons come up, but not to be dumped to a market if that's what.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because if you look at your sale, so all the funds, coming from seed sale, private sale, public sale. So let's say they're roughly half. You said public. You said it's going to be around 400,000 or so, right? You said like roughly half of what it's shown on here, something around there.
Yeah, I think obviously. We had
just the ballpark.
We had the FTX stuff last week, didn't we? So I think that took it down to about 288. But don't hold me to the exact figure, because I don't know what the exact number is based on the exact price of BNB and Ethereum.
This percentage is also lower too, right? It's not just the value, but this percentage is lower too.
Yeah,
I think you said like 7% or something.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying about the fact that will then obviously reduce the supply available at launch, which will also reduce the TG market cap.
But I guess my big thing is with all these, so your whole project is really being funded by these three spots.
Ourselves?
Or
no?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, if you're putting any money, but like I'm gonna get to that point. So, but basically, public sale, private sale, and seed round, right? So what I'm trying to say is all the investors are putting in roughly about, I don't know, 10% of the, or they're putting in all the money, but they're getting 10% of the project. At the end of the day, all these, in a way, are free tokens, kind of, because they're going to be distributed to marketers, but they're not tokens that have been paid for. So you also have the liquidity, right? So when your liquidity percentage is 12%, but then you have tokens being unlocked, say 2-3% a month, or I don't know, whatever, depending on the vesting schedule. Unless this is already up, multiple X's, then it could be very risky because the liquidity could be kind of low compared to what the tokens being unlocked and used for marketing. So I say it's something to think about. And another thing is, have you guys done any out of pocket for this? Like for the actual, because I know you guys. How long ago did you have the seed sale?
Seed sale technically started, I think, in September. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty surprised by your approach because if you go back to your original question just then, related to marketing tokens being free, for example, and how the investors are funding the entire project, but only getting around 10% of the supply. Investors aren't funding the entire project, right? We've been in development for months. A lot of that's been funded by me and Lucas out of our own pockets.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. That's what I was asking about seed sale, and since obviously seed sale happened a month ago.
But to be fair, you approached the question by saying investors are funding the entire project and we're getting free tokens. So I think you have to look at the fact that we basically have funded a lot of this. Investors themselves, what we're trying to bring them is a token whereby the team tokens do not unlock for literally 12 months, whilst launching on a tier 1 exchange with an extremely low TGE market cap and a working platform with V2 in development by that point, that is actually useful to normal crypto users, right? So I think, and the fact that they'll be able to stake those tokens, the fact that, for example, they'll get a revenue share from the platform itself, I think it's a little harsh to say that they're not getting much out of the project apart from 10% of the supply. And I think.
Well, that's why I was asking you. Maybe I should have asked that question first, but I'm just gonna go and we're rolling along. I don't have any questions that I have preset 10 questions or 20 questions.
I would say one thing. We like going into AMAs where we get difficult questions, right? Because ultimately it helps to actually, especially when it's coming from an organization that specifically looks into this sort of stuff. It's the assumption side of things, because ultimately we're trying, and this is why we're on these AMAs, right? Trying to explain, because we ultimately want people to understand that what we're trying to bring is something good for the users. We have no tax on the token because we don't feel like we need to be raking in money from the token or kickbacks from the exchange for the trading fees. We want the platform to be self-sufficient, because the platform ultimately is going to be our business, where we can generate revenue from that would ultimately pay a salary for us, hopefully too, of which the holders of the token get a percentage of supply, whilst also getting a token that's got a low TGE market cap, launching on a tier 1 exchange. That, in fairness, that doesn't happen very often, not in terms of currently in this market. And I'll give you an example. I know a project. I can say the name if you want me to, but I think it's probably really harsh and unfair to. They did similar raises on GemPad and Pink Sale. Probably just over two. I'm recorded, but yeah. I mean, they did similar raises on GemPad and Pink Sale a few weeks ago, and Tokenomics looked interesting. And then when you dove into those tokenomics to find out that the team owned 58% of the supply that was unlocked at TGE, it doesn't bode well. That is the kind of thing that would concern me as an investor. Having 81% of the tokens nearly unlocked on TGE is dangerous in the eyes of in terms of gambling on a project.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing we're trying to avoid, and that's why probably the question feels a certain way when we see these projects somehow cash, like raising cash on different platforms, like from start to finish, without actually being completely transparent over their own tokenomics.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I really dive into these and trying to figure out exactly, because you could call it whatever you want, right? You could call it marketing, strategic, but a lot of times at the end of the day, the team is in control of these tokens. So if you call it team tokens or marketing tokens, it doesn't matter. It's team token. They're all team tokens if you think about all this, right? So that's why that's why I wanted to ask you. So seed sale happened in September. So, but you guys were obviously working for this for a long time. So just roughly like dollar cost wise, I know you guys are doing this in house, but in house doesn't really mean free. So, what estimate would you have for amount of money, or either time is money, or just amount of funds you actually put in with your own pockets into this project so far? Because I know normally, like a lot of times, seed sale is kind of used to fund the development, and private sales used to fund development. But since you guys already had this going on for such a long time, and seed sale just happened a month ago or so, then obviously you're out of pocket for a long time, right? So
it's not just it's not just the development. If you think about it, right, it's the paying the developer of the smart contract. It's having that contract audited. It's paying the fees, for example, for different platforms. It's paying the graphic designers to design the white paper. It's paying the developer to code the website. Development is very expensive and it takes time. Without putting a figure on it, I mean, it's reasonably high. We're not so fussed about it. Like I said, like if you go back, and this comes back, by the way, I'm going to go into the real world a little bit here. If you go into the real world and you want to start a business, unless it's crowdfunded, in what world normally do other people fund your business becoming a success? There aren't many, right? Because ultimately, most people in the real world start a business, have to work really hard at it, and it might take some time before you start turning a profit from that business. And that ultimately is what the platform is there for, is for user experience, for holders to get something back from the platform for being the people that are using it. And then long term, that's a business for us as well, where we can hire people, give people work. You've mentioned people that need work already, whether that's the affiliate program or other graphic designers or even a support team, for example. So for us, we've put a lot of money into it. I won't say a figure, but you can imagine if this has been in development one way or the other for a long time, that it's quite a lot.
how long has it been in development for?
Conception of the idea, probably we've been talking about it over a year now, seriously talking about it probably since the beginning of the year. I'd say everything itself, actual development on things, probably started in May or June, Lucas, roughly.
I mean, like, sorry for my voice. The thing is, with a platform like this, you need to have like everything conceptualized, because you can't just start development without actually having everything in a workspace. And the planning has been starting like, I don't know, it's been almost a year now. And we have been developing the platform from midsummer. We have finished the back end and we're really hard working on the front end. But since we're building everything from scratch and we're aiming for it not to be awkward and awesome, it's taking a lot of time, but we will definitely launch the platform before we launch the token. It's really important to us to have a working platform before we actually list on the centralized exchange.
Okay, that's good. So before this, before pre-sale, so basically it's going to be ready within 5 days, right? Your platform.
No, we're
No,
talking
before
about
launch. Before launch.
we're talking about the token launch itself, not the pre-sale.
Oh, how long is the token launching after pre-sale?
We're aiming for December the 5th.
But why wouldn't you just push the pre-sale to the point where the platform is out there and you guys, investors could see it before they put their funds into pre-sale? Wouldn't that be more bullish?
Okay, Martin, I'll let you explain that.
I was just going to say, part of the pre-sale funds will go to obviously future development, V2, V3 and things. Then some of it will go to the centralized exchange. Some of it we've funded ourselves already. And then in terms of generally with these things, you do usually have stages with these projects, right? It's not do a seed sale Thursday, do a private sale Monday, do a pre-sale Tuesday, and then launch on a tier one exchange Wednesday. You've got to have some time to market. We have to have time to market this. We have to have time for the exchange to market it. We have to have time for various different things. And obviously then during the two gaps between the period, we can then release the platform, for example. We can bring people across to the platform. We're in talks with different projects as to who will be the first few to launch on the platform and take advantage of the other bits and pieces related to it. So we need a little bit of time in between each stage in order for us to do it properly. If we were to run a pre-sale and launch the next day on a tier one exchange, that doesn't give us any time to market it at all.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it has to. I mean, obviously, when I give advice to projects, I always tell them the same thing. Yeah, do not launch right away. Like after pre-sale, if you launch, especially with like a fair launch, you won't have any investors. That you won't have any buy pressure. That's what they dump. They'll literally launch the next day without any new additional marketing. So yeah, I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, like, for the whole use case of this project, since you guys have been working on it for such a long time and it's ready, I don't know, what's the percentage, like 90%, 95%? You have like a rough number of what the completion of the platform is?
Somewhere around 85 to 90 by now.
So if all this has already been funded out of pocket and or through the two sales you guys have already done, the seed and the private sale, so why not just maybe at least have some kind of working or demonstration or like a beta tested type of platform prior?
We already have a beta tested platform which is shared with partners that they play around with as well.
Okay, so basically people could go right now, and at least some partners, they could go and could go and use everything. Okay,
Conda's seen it as well, so we have that in place. Obviously, we've shared that with the ones that are obviously then leading to the exchanges as well. So they've seen that, and ultimately that was always kind of like the timelines that we took with it, because it allows us to release everything in stages whilst also raising at the same time, to then effectively follow that roadmap as we've outlined it.
Okay, so is there going to be anything for the public? Let's say I'm just an average Joe. I want to go invest into this 5 days from now. I want to invest, but I want to make sure, especially with the way the space has been, it's all about, smoke and mirrors, lots of promises, over promising, but under delivering, either because they have nothing or what they promise is actually a lot more difficult than what they either expected or they just lied to investors completely, right? So is there anything that could be, that investors could actually see, like any sneak peeks, at least closer to the pre-sale time? Because if I'm an average Joe investor, I kind of want to see the platform, right?
Yeah, and Lucas, you were working on development videos and stuff as well, weren't you?
I can say it like this, and I'll be very straightforward with everything. We could release the platform if we wanted tomorrow. The thing is, when we did the introduction of the project, the aim was to release a product that's fully functional and it's awesome to use, as I've said many times. If we release a product without actually doing some proper testing, without the front end being what we want to see, we could kill our project, because people will come in and they see it's not what we promised, it's not what they want, and then we're done. We're aiming to release the product fully functional, for it not to be clunky, and for there not to be any major vulnerabilities. We have a working test net that we're using to test. We have shared with our partners, and anyone can go in right now and just submit, buy promotions. All of the back-end stuff is completely done. We're only working on the front end right now. I don't know what kind of research you have done, but we have been sharing development for weeks now. There's literally photos how the platform looks. So that's interesting. And we will be sharing even more photos. And I even shared our Trello workspace where the Q&A is doing magical work on the front end. And the media is there. So it's a really interesting question from your perspective.
I mean, investors want to see, I guess screenshots is one thing, but actually being able to at least do like a demo or like you did say that partners are able to do it. It's only because we are invested here as a whole group into a project that also and it's been a year already since they launched, or a year, that has no built-in charts. Basically, it's like a Telegram, crypto charts, everything all in one. And development is definitely taking a long time because it's not as easy as some people or developers think, oh, they could get it done in like a month, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it takes. Oh, it's going to take 100K, but they either don't know or they severely underestimate the actual costs of developing something. Especially if it's going to be competing with something so mainstream like CoinMarketCap, right? Or even PooCoin. I think honestly, like I said, I think PooCoin is shit anyway. But besides the point. But like even like simple thing, like one thing here, like a chart, like a nice working chart, it's a lot of development, right? So I kind of do want to see some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, charts are already working. Like if you, okay, so I think what Lucas was kind of getting at is that not only have we shared like screenshots of like the development as we're going along, those are available in the Telegram, those are available on our socials. There's also, as Lucas just said, there's a Trello, which is for our QA to basically go through the website and improve it as we're doing it, right? So where we say we're like 85 to 90% done, as Lucas just pointed out, we could put the platform live in the morning. But what we want to make sure is that actually we've now got like a couple of weeks left, really, where we need to like fine tune that V1. And that's the whole point of having a Q&A. So the Trello is available for you to have a look at. The Trello is available. Lucas has shared it in our Telegram, for example. So you can go and have a look at that and see the things that we're working on day to day. So to go back to your question originally, I think we have been putting that information out there. We have been sharing that information out, and it's a shame you haven't seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, and also there's a thing that there's still competitors launching. I know there's even like one that's being in development right now. There's like scheduled to launch in 2 weeks. So you can be sharing more than you can share. And talking about development timelines, I completely agree with you. Development timelines are a meme because you can never actually believe what the developer says. You need to like 2x the time. And that's why we actually 2x our time, because we had like one timeline and it took longer, but we ensured ourselves to make sure that we actually launch on time, which is December the 5th. Talking about sharing like more footage, as I've said, you don't want to share footage when you're working on the front end itself now, because people that aren't developers, they don't understand what kind of work comes into the back end and the front end. They just want to see a flashy website, and they won't understand that the work has been done already. But even that, we still understand that investors want to see something, and that's why we have the medium. Like what kind of projects nowadays have medium? Only serious ones, and that are development centered. And we have a medium, and we're sharing weekly updates on what's going on with the platform, be it back end, front end partnerships, and we're very transparent in that manner.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. So development, you guys have been showing progress, so there, investors could go and see that. Okay, that's good. That's kind of what I'm expecting to hear from a project like this, because like I said, a lot of times it's one thing to promise a million things. It's actually another thing to do it. And we literally just personally we've been working on this Telegram bot, and we're using these guys, and they've just been time rugging us like every week. So I know exactly that development and finding good developers is not that easy. You can't just go say, oh, in a month we're going to be ready, and it's like, and a month later, the reality is probably going to be like 10% already, right? So you guys you said December 5th or so, that's going to be most likely around that time is when you're going to have 100% of the features. Everything will be ready, right, around there. And then you guys are pretty confident. I'm not saying exactly that date, but roughly around that time, plus or minus, a week or two.
Oh, no. We will have V1 out there by that date. 100%. That's not a we will promise, by the way.
Okay, and V1 will include, right? Will include all these features?
No. Those features are basically showing what we will have once all 3 versions of our platform are released. When it comes to NFTs, the safety features and Ethereum name service domains, that's going to come in later stages, but it's not going to come like, where projects promise like, yeah, we're going to release these features and they never release them or take like years after. No, once we're done with our V1, we're instantly going to be working on V2. We have like these very strict timelines where we want to release these features because we know if we don't do that, we're dead. It's a very competitive scene and you always need to be on top. You always need to be releasing these features. But the main bread, like the main platform, is going to be live. It's probably going to be live even before the December the 5th because December the 5th is like the token launch. And that's already giving us some cushion time to do proper Q&A and even probably like public testing with whitelisted partners. It's already like with an extra week.
Okay. All right.
Staking investing platform will also be live by December the 2nd.
All right. So can you give us like a rough idea for the December 5th or that V1 launch? What can I do? Like what kind of features will be available? You said the charting will be there, right? The listing.
Okay.
Chart.
Lucas,
do you want to do it?
I can do it since I'm the one that's responsible for the development. But okay, so we will have charting. We will have the decentralized exchange live. Well, it's already live. It's built in. So top 10 chain support, no. And the reason why we did this strategically is that adding the chains it's a very easy task to do. We can do it like in a day or two. But we know how the market is currently. So we're aiming to support like the top 4 chains by the total value locked and by the amount of apps they have, which is Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Arbitrum, and Polygon at V1. We'll be supporting all of the chains, not even the top 10 as we progress. And we'll also be scouting the market constantly for like the hot chains. Let's say like Dogchain was months ago, or Aptos or whatnot, like what's hot in that current trend, Safety features will be like a limited release on V1. We'll have some of them ready, but not exactly what we have planned because it's going to be built as we progress. Also, when it comes to the safety features, we also need additional funding because it's really expensive and the art that we're taking, and we need more developers than we currently have because we have only one full stack developer that's working 24/7, and also me, which I'm not like, I can't commit fully to developing because I have a lot of other stuff also. Affiliate system is already live. We actually have people coming out and reaching out to projects and building partnerships, and they can earn tokens that will be paid out as we launch. Internal token, that's not a feature, that's like Coinology, which is also built in the smart contract, and the 24/7 customer support, which I believe will also give us way more advantage over competitors, will be live at about V2, V3, because customer service, albeit very good, it's really expensive. It's really expensive. It needs a lot of funds for that, but it's going to be something that I believe will make us the market leaders. There's a lot of other exciting features, but I think it's better to under-promise and over-deliver, because that's the approach we're taking at Coinology.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, that's good. So that's definitely a good amount. Will be usable at least. And one more thing I would like to discuss before we open up to the community, like the token itself. I believe, like I think you guys mentioned it, that it will be used on a platform too for like voting or anything like that, right? Or am I completely confused?
No. Because one of our competitors is building in that feature, and it completely doesn't make any sense from a business perspective. When we were building the concepts, we had that utility in our heads, but we quickly dismissed it because your platform will get absolutely zero adoption. No one is going to be buying Coinology to vote for projects once it launches. You need to have a very you need to have a very attractive platform that's easy to use, and you don't need to go like through different hoops just to vote on a project. No one's going to do that because they don't even trust the platform. It's new.
Yeah, I don't even upvote on Dex tools because I don't want to log in. I don't want to go through that trouble of creating an account.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, dude.
Same with Reddit. Like, it's just those kind of things are real frustrating.
Like,
I agree. That's a good point. I totally agree with you guys on that one.
We know from the psychological perspective, and we want to have a platform that doesn't make you mad. It doesn't require you to like go through a million of hoops, you know? It's a simple platform. There's not like a lot in your face. Just come and use it, and you're happy, and you get all the features in one neat package.
Exactly. So, leading to the revenue, and we talked about some of the profit sharing. So, what will be like the revenue sources? I'm assuming like say if you take PooCoin, it's ads. So you guys will have, instead of like tokenized like we just discussed, like you guys don't want to go that route. So I'm assuming most of the revenue will be from adoption and advertisements, and then that revenue is going to go to the holders and to you guys, right? Can you guys give maybe touch more about how that's all going to work?
Yeah, so like for example, you mentioned a couple of them already. So advertising spots, obviously, whether that's banner adverts or smaller size adverts, different versions, I suppose. Plus, then potential promoted spots. So projects will approach us for those. We'll check that we feel that they are of a certain standard, because as we know at times, like if you look at some of these ones that are either in promoted spots in different websites, right, they're not necessarily legit tokens, right? And you can never guarantee what's a legit token, not legit token, but we can at least try. And then revenue streams into V2, V3 will be huge, we hope, by which time we would like to think that the token's got some sort of adoption, so is the platform. I know that it probably comes across like there's some things that we're trying to avoid saying, and I suppose to a certain extent we are. V3 we can't talk about. We literally can't. I'd love to. And we will be able to as we come closer. V3 is for the summer. But it should be awesome for holders in terms of like revenue sharing as well. And then I think that's covering all of them. But even if you look at the most basic website in terms of like CoinSniper, for example, I know we were in a bull run last year, but their advertising revenue was over $1 million. And that's CoinSniper. So you can imagine the kind of level if you ever get anywhere near a Dex Tools, or if you ever get anywhere near a CoinMarketCap kind of level, even CoinGecko. Because obviously there's scalability in terms of like the charges for the advertisement based on the traffic that you have coming into the site, based on how quality the site is as well. So, and naturally you'd hope you've got more holders of the token as that goes on, so that obviously then benefits more people.
And for the revenue and the profit sharing, is it going to be transparent? And do you have like roughly, I guess, numbers for how it's going to be distributing among holders? Like, let's say 30% of revenue is going to go to holders, or 30% of profits is going to go to holders.
Yeah, so it's going to be transparent. We've integrated. Lucas, we finished integrating the Coinbase payments thing, haven't we?
Yeah, the common payment thing is done, but if you're talking about transparency, like what really annoys me with projects is that they don't share profit. First, they don't share profit, but if they do, they like do a buyback and burn, but it's very minimal compared like to the total volume and whatnot. It's mostly shaded stuff, and we're going to be avoiding that. The idea behind everything is to decentralize it all in the future. Like even the profit sharing, for it to be done in a smart contract, so that we don't even have our hands in a say of this, that it's done by the code, because that protects us both legally and also it's very transparent, and that's what crypto is all about, decentralization.
Okay, so if I'm booking an ad or like a sponsored top spot with your platform, like my payment is going to be directly handled by the smart contract, and it's all going to get distributed automatically.
In the future, yes. in the future, yes, and it's definitely not going to be in V1 or V2 because it's not a priority for us at the moment. But we will definitely be doing it in probably like V3 and onwards, because as I've said, we need to do it for legal stuff because all the security claims and whatnot, and it's also bullish for the project itself because there's people that are looking for these pure utility projects, and we will have a business solution behind the token, which is very rare nowadays because most of the tokens are just basically ways for projects to fundraise and then they're gone.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, like I feel like based on all the discussion we had today, that the whole revenue sharing part, that's kind of the main reason of the buying this token as an investor, right? I mean, obviously, the more adoption, the price is going to go up, but why should it be going up? Why? Because of technically the more adoption you're going to have, the more revenue you're going to have, right? But there's a couple of holes that I could find that, I mean, not necessarily that you guys have those holes, but from, like, say, I didn't know anything about that. So there's a couple of ways to screw investors over with the whole revenue sharing thing. You could say, well, we're going to do X amount, 30% of our profits to investors. And you could always say, well, we have zero profits because we just put that back into the company. So this year we have zero profits. Everyone's getting zero. So basically, this is real life too, not just, crypto. So companies could do that. Or you could promise a minimum, like let's say 30% of revenue, not profits, but revenue. So then you really have no way out. You have to pay that. You make $1 million in ad revenue, 300K is going to have to go to investors. And the other way to get around that would be like, well, it's going to go to investors based on the token amounts. But, if investors are only holding, whoops, where's that chart? I guess I need to go here. Investors are only holding like 15%, and the devs are essentially holding 50%. They still would be basically getting all that profit. The investors will get like a very small amount, right? So I think it's important to make it attractive, the whole revenue sharing thing. Make it as attractive as possible to investors by being basically transparent and showing them, like, I think maybe like a kind of money flow chart or how it's all going to work with the ecosystem. I think that'd be really nice to see, and makes me want to be like,
I was going to say, to be fair, I mean, you're basing those figures on assuming nobody ever buys the token after the pre-sales, because obviously more percentage of the supply will be held by holders post-launch, right? Because we would hope at least one person would buy it on an exchange, which would immediately then increase the percentage held by people. So those figures are correct if you're looking at the pre-sale being the last time we ever trade the token, but it's not going to be. Obviously, those percentages will ultimately change, right?
Oh, of course. I'm just saying because, well, it's in reality, it's the these percentages plus liquidity and all that. That's the maximum that someone could buy at launch, because you could never buy more tokens than what's available, on the market, which is the liquidity plus everyone's tokens that they got. Assuming, unless of course the marketing is going to sell, and then that's going to go back to liquidity. But just kind of roughly, I know these numbers are changed, but roughly, let's say everything is vested, and the only thing that you could ever buy is 12%, because that's all that's going to be left in liquidity, until someone sells. But then you're just changing hands. At the end of the day, you're not going to be able to get a higher percentage than what's offered in the liquidity until someone sells, So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying that you guys are doing that or anything. I'm just saying, like, I think it's important to show investors, that basically you're not. There's no option. You guys can't go, have some loopholes behind their back and claim, well, we didn't have any revenue, or sorry, we did get revenue, but we were holding 90% of the tokens, so the devs get 90% of the revenue anyway.
That's, by the way, those are very valid points, and it was a headache how to actually prove to the community that we're going to be transparent about it. So the first thing first, developers, which is us, and I mean, like, any tokens that are held by us, they're going to be completely blacklisted from the profit sharing. We will never receive profit because it doesn't make any sense. As you've said, we hold like
because you're already getting. Right, yeah, because if you're already getting 70% profit and then 30% to holders, then your majority of that 30% is going back to you. It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we will also be doing like safeguards and releasing quarterly statements on what's going on. I know you can fudge those, okay? you can provide false information. But if you do that, it's basically fraud. And we are KYC'd, and literally my profile picture is on the website. You can fudge a lot of things, but we're aiming to be as transparent as possible, and we will be releasing these documents. And let us say the documents say that we made like, I don't know, zero profit, but you can clearly see that the website is booming. You know that something's wrong, and that's when you take legal action. And legal action, by the way, isn't as uncommon in crypto as it was like last year. There's projects being prosecuted left and right. So we are very, very careful about stuff like that. We literally even hire lawyers for the tokens. That's how serious we are.
Yeah, and you did say that it will be on the blockchain eventually on the DApp, right? So maybe in the beginning
no.
it
So
won't.
just to be clear as
Yeah.
well, it will also be on the blockchain, like immediately, because the Coinbase payment system is already incorporated, right? So effectively, people will be able to see all the payments coming into the site just by having the wallet ID, which I'm sure there's a way we could make public during V1 anyway.
Yeah, I think all of that could be done, fairly quickly because it's not that difficult, right? Like to have everything already there. Yeah, for the promoted and all for the ads, all that.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to kind of say is the smart contract element of it might take until V3 because that's quite a sophisticated system, but that doesn't mean that we won't be making things transparent and public beforehand.
Yeah, good. That's kind of what I really like to hear, And honestly, I feel that the reason why, I asked you earlier about, like seed sale and just put any money up front out of pocket, either time or, money invested, months ahead of even seed sale. That's actually a very, very bullish thing because the projects that fail most of the time are the ones where the developers are risking nothing. And in a real business, if you're starting a company, you have to have skin in the game. You have to put upfront capital. You can't just start a business with zero, right? You need to have some kind of risk. And that's what motivates people to actually make the business successful. If I'm going to spend $30K from my savings to start a, like a brick and mortar business, of course I'm not going to like run away after 3 days because someone sold on me. I want to make sure I could rise above the dips, the bear market, above everything else and make it successful. So I feel like when the developers have invested a lot of their own, time and funds into the project, that means that they are really risking themselves too, not just investors' funds, but they're risking their own funds, their own time that they put in. So that actually has a higher chance of being successful. Because we had AMAs where projects come in and they're like, oh, we're doing seed sale to fund our development. It's going to start after we get your money. And then when we have private sale from your money to fund a pre-sale, it's going to take more of your money. And we're risking nothing at all.
And then we're going to have another pre-sale so we can get a holiday to Bali.
Yeah, and those projects, like, let me tell you, 99% of them, like, it really, what happens to them is literally what it is. They didn't give a crap. Some of them disappear. They don't even talk in chat after launch,
Yeah. Oh, and then, by the way, after we've finished all the pre-sales and all the raises, we're slowly going to bleed the token by 90% by selling the unlocked supply that we have from various different. You've only, like I said, you've only got to look back over projects the last couple of weeks to see that, and that's why I was like really defensive of our tokenomics, because those ones that have high, invariably, right, and I get that you might have a different personal experience from something you've done yourself, but this is you doing this, right, not the norm, right? And the norm in these circumstances where you have high percentages of supply available at launch, invariably the team own a large percentage of those and the token very slowly goes down. They do some launch marketing and then they disappear.
I agree. And one of the reasons why ours was different is because we always started with actually 0 team tokens. So we're probably one of the only projects where the team actually ended up buying massive percentages of supply after launch, not getting free handouts and then dumping. I think that's the one way to actually make a project successful, because the team has to be willing to actually invest themselves. Or else, like, if you don't believe in it, basically the team's the one that should be the ones the most believing in their project that has all the insider info, because that's their own project, right? So if you're selling tokens, that means you think that the price is going to be lower tomorrow than it is today. Obviously, of course, if you guys some for marketing and stuff, right?
I mean, if
But
we,
yeah,
yeah, and let's be honest though, you probably didn't run those projects for free. And this is why the platform is so important to us, because ultimately we're investing money to build the platform, we're investing money in the token, but we want people to understand that actually, like you said, skin in the game, for example, that actually we've invested a lot into this time and money. And ultimately, we want to build a platform that is a successful business, right? That means that the token can be successful because we're not solely focused on the token.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I basically our stuff we're literally doing it by making stretching investor funds as much as possible instead of paying someone
Yeah.
10K to do a Telegram bot, basically getting ripped off because in the bull market people charge up the ass and everyone like is free to pay because it's not their money, it's investors funds. That's why these projects fail, right? We rather
Yeah.
do it ourselves or like in-house, or I get someone that could really do it for a lot cheaper, but it might take them a lot longer. But at the end of the day, you're saving $8,000,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, honestly, I think I pretty much asked all the questions I have. So that's open to the community. I know Zoom was really antsy, but he was talking in chat, so I'm not sure if he has any more questions.
Yeah, but do you know what though? We don't mind that, right? I think look, there's some AMAs you go into and they're like almost pretending to be bullish about everything, right? And I think you've got to have like proper healthy debate. Otherwise, like you don't get the right answers. Like, you don't ask us the right questions, and community's just left with like they could have gone to any channel for that AMA.
Yeah, and
So
those AMAs are worthless. Like I've been in a pink
yeah.
sale AMA where they talk about the project for like 30 minutes and then they have they have the questions for community, and literally it's just Googled questions. They pick on like it's like they have like a sweatshop or something of like just guys from Southeast Asia or whatever, like with like
Yeah.
pre-written questions for like every project, same thing. And I'm like, I still don't know nothing about the project. Like they didn't ask anything, about how it's gonna make money or like what's the purpose of buying it or like how's this different than anything else. It's just kind of, sir, is your project, is it safe for investors? I'm like, you kidding me, right?
What is your marketing plan?
Yeah, all these pre-generated questions. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the point of even doing AMAs at that point, right?
Yep. No, I agree.
Oh, yeah, Robert, how many total dev team tokens? Well, basically it's 14%, but like I said, guys, uh, if I still think if the other, percentages are getting diluted, basically because half of them will be burnt, that just means the ratios of all these other tokens end up being higher. So I would actually think maybe about, thinking a little bit more about that. Because it's kind of like the whole burn gimmick, right? You could burn 50% of the supply and the team has, let's say, 15% of the tokens, but if you actually account for the burn, they really have 30% of the tokens that are left. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
happened back, like last year and whatever. People are burning 90% of the tokens and team has 5%. Well, it's not really 5%, it's 50% because the only tokens that are left are 10%, right? So that's kind
Yeah.
of my point. Like if these will be burned because they haven't been sold, then all these other numbers are a lot higher. So they might might want to take a look at it again and maybe like recalibrate it, or depending on pre-sale too. Like if you guys feel pre-sale aren't
Yeah. Yeah.
too hard cap or not.
That's the thing. Like I said this to you though, as part of the tokenomics discussion, is that ultimately we will completely refinalize these numbers once we finish these pre-sales, because then we know exactly where we're launching and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good thing. I think it's still good to keep roughly the same thing, but obviously, like, let's say you filled half versus what you think you will, you could still keep the same numbers, just, like change the price, I guess. You could even change the price without changing for example, let's say you filled 75K out of 150. You could just still say 5%. You could just change this to a lower number, and make everything lower, right? It all really depends on the relative price to everything else. Like this could be $5, for all we care. That just means you have lower token amounts and you have lower supply, right? The actual price itself doesn't matter. What matters is the price difference between like seed sale and private sale and public sale and all those. That's what really matters. The actual price itself doesn't matter because you could have a supply like 1,000 X less instead of 125 million, you get 1.2 million, and you just make your price like 10 times or 100 times higher, right? At the end of the day, that part doesn't really matter.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, is Zoom still here? Anyone has any questions? I think we pretty much answered that because I think what he really wanted to know is what can we see so far? Because like we had so many AMAs like where they promised this and there's like nothing to show for it, to where like
Honestly,
it is like
I mean, you've shared our links and everything. Like we'd like recommend people come over, speak to us, speak to the rest of the team, the moderating team and everything else, and then have a look at like the actual pinned messages, which has got some of these things on. Our Twitter's got some of them on as well. Yeah, just go and have a look around.
One thing I would like to also mention, I mean, obviously I said one thing like a million times, but like you mentioned one developer, and we're kind of in a similar, boat too. We really have just one main developer working on our stuff, and it takes a really long time. So are you guys, after launch, let's say you're going to have more funds, are you planning to get more people on there so it's, to meet, the V2, V3, deadlines? Because
I think Lucas already answered that. Yes is the answer. The short answer, yes, we will.
Okay. Yeah, because like I know, like like I've been saying, we've been working with some Iranians for Telegram bot. We've been working with the in-house guy for our launchpad, and it's one person. It takes months, not days.
Yeah.
Right. So. Well, yeah. Thanks. And, anyone has any questions, guys? Oh yeah, I think Robert asked, payment to be made with pre-sale funds, or is the amount readily available? So the only thing they're waiting for is the payment. Oh, for the centralized exchange.
Yeah. Lucas is saying, hang on, I've got Lucas in my DMs asking me something. Lucas, are you saying you want to answer this question?
I'm just in the group chat answering people, but a portion of the funds will definitely go to the centralized exchange listing, because we don't have a huge a huge amount of cash just to throw around to the centralized exchange listing, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the pre-sale and the amount we're raising, because we're very serious about it, and we don't want to be promising people that we're going to go on a centralized exchange. It's like a tier 1, and then it comes around and it's Bitmart. No, we're actually listing on a very reputable, very known exchange that people actually use, and it doesn't have like fake volume.
Yeah, I agree. Like a lot of these exchanges, they're basically scams in themselves. They want 50K, 100K for listing, and all it really takes is you could have a bot for like, I don't know, $100 that would buy and sell forever these tokens, and it looks like real people are buying it, but at the end of the day, it's just fake volume. So I agree.
Exactly, and like the problem with these centralized exchanges that consider themselves tier 1 is they have very thin order books. So the price is extremely volatile, and you like buy for 1,000, and the price just pumps 5%. It's literally impossible to sell or buy. And those exchanges are basically just snake oil. It's just for show, and that's what not we're aiming for.
Hell, even like tier 1 like FTX, it all comes out that they were basically playing against their own investors. I mean, I knew about this actually like 2-3 years ago. That they were doing some very scammy things. That's why I stopped using them. But basically what they were doing is they had all their order books, right? They had everyone's stop losses, limits, they had everything. So all you really need to do is, especially if it's like a low liquidity token on their specific exchange, is do like a scam wick, liquidate them, then go the other way, liquidate everyone else, and do that like all day long. So I think crypto overall, it's so much shady things going on that, like, yeah, even like tier 1 exchanges, I would say are there's probably a lot more than people realize, all the shit that's going on behind everyone's backs. And it's been FTX is a good example because it just happened,
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Can you not give them ideas how to scam?
Well, we're just talking about tier 1 exchanges specifically. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I saw it personally how it works, you know. So,
I think the problem with centralized exchanges in general, as you mentioned, they're just very shady. And what FTX showed us, and I believe that there is like 50% of the exchanges currently in the market, they don't even have the funds. I'm 100% sure of that. They probably just went to gen leverage and lost it all. So we
Yeah, they're
do have
probably like
also,
BitConnect. They're probably like BitConnect. They take their funds and invest into the crypto to kind of play their own long game, and then once the 1% per day, they can't pay out whatever because the Bitcoin stopped going up, and then as people start withdrawing and they have nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I
exactly.
have my own opinions. Like, even if you look at Binance now, so Binance, as of today, is under investigation, right? Because for their part in the FTX drama last week. Me and Lucas have had chats about this offline. It's just a personal opinion. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, CZ is the reason that happened last week. It was probably going to happen at some point anyway, right? But ultimately, going public about dumping FTT and going public about how this exchange is shady and that exchange is shady in different ways, actually, that's not ethical behavior that you can do in a traditional stock market. And so I think going back to what Lucas just said, I think every tier one exchange in some way or another has something shady going on in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like we're going to see in the next couple of weeks a lot more things come to light, and it's almost like I mean I don't really like to discuss conspiracy theories, but I feel like if the government wants to bring more regulation and it wants a reason to, it's almost like the whole exchange is failing is like it's like a setup just to give them a reason to bring regulation. Like, oh, look at FTX, some money laundering going on between Ukraine, the government, Russia, whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, it looks like we got to start looking at it closer, and we got to introduce more regulations. But anyway, so I think Robert had a question, and it looks like it's been answered. Oh yeah, about the max contributions. Did you guys have like for seed sale, private sale? Did you guys have max? Was it like whitelisted? Like, did you vet everyone, or did it like open up to a point where anyone could just contribute whatever they wanted from multiple
No,
wallets?
I've had a personal discussion with every single seed investor, and the private sale was done on GenPad, right? So I had a min and a max contribution. So seed wise, I have chats open with every single seed investor, and because of the way the tokenomics are designed, as you've already pointed out, the actual, if someone was to even invest 25,000 at seed sale, the percentage of supply is minute that they actually hold. Not only that, it's vested. So it's not like someone's coming to market with 2% of the supply. We're talking like 0.03%. It's so minor.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, I feel like I discussed already with let's say it's halfway filled. I feel like you have to figure out, you have to rebalance all these percentages anyways. So I feel I would keep roughly the ratios similar instead of just being okay. Seed sale only got filled 10%, so now they have, instead of 5%, it's like 0.5%. Public sale. I think it's most important with public sale, honestly, because what we don't want to see is, oh, all these got filled only like 10%, so there's only like 5% total, and then the other wallets are still, huge percentages. Basically, that's what that is. Because that also means liquidity will be a lot lower too, right? Let's say public sale only got filled half. That means liquidity will be half because liquidity percentage is coming from public sale funds.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think we probably have at this point now like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I think yes, we will readjust in terms of like what the final numbers look like once we've finished out these pre-sales. But we are not okay. You referenced, and I think Lucas referenced, shitcoins of last year that pretended they held 15% of the supply, burnt half, and suddenly they've got 30% of the supply that's in circulation, right?
Yeah.
None of them are on a tier one exchange, KYC to a tier one exchange, whereby they could do that to scam everybody. Those tokens launched on PancakeSwap or Uniswap, and maybe at best a bit more who don't care. So you have to look at like the strategic side of things. We don't know in the future, for example, that if we were to go to like a major tier one exchange as a potential next step, you know, and if that does happen, like great. We don't know what percentage of the supply they're going to ask us to come and hold. That's why we need those tokens. It's not so that the team themselves can actually like remove them from circulation by selling them. So I understand your point, but we're not thinking about what's just happening in the next month.
Yeah, so the exchange tokens that will be used for the tier one exchange, right? Like you said, where are they taken from? Which part of the chart? Is it from the DAO, the 20%?
No, that's also part to do with the strategic as well. That's why it's obviously that's part of the reason why it's called
Strategic.
and
Okay.
it's called partners and
Okay.
everything else. So that's what I was trying to get across to you earlier. Like those tokens, yes, okay, technically, I suppose it might turn out that actually it ends up being 18% of the total supply left that hasn't been burnt. But the number of tokens is the important thing, not the percentage, because ultimately we may get asked for a certain number of tokens from different exchanges as we grow. I kind of take your point about the marketing tokens. And that's why I'm saying to you, I think we will look at the numbers once we know what we actually have raised at pre-sale. Strategic, we have to be very careful with, because yes, technically the team will have access to them, but we are going to need them, not for us. We are going to need them for other people further down the line. They're not going to accept, for example, that we burnt some of those because we were lining up the numbers to please the people in the pre-sale.
Yeah, but like aren't the strategic tokens, it says they're locked. They're 0% TGE, 12 months linear, and the marketing is 15%. So like if you're gonna have a tier one exchange on day one, those tokens will be coming from where?
Well, obviously there's a certain amount, obviously, that does unlock on TGE.
The 15% for marketing.
Yeah. So and also, sorry, I've come away from the actual pie chart itself, so I don't want to start reading numbers out of my own head.
Yeah, I think that's probably enough, because you don't really need that much anyways for like a exchange.
Yeah, and ultimately, obviously, we've already had these discussions, right, in terms of the background for the exchange that we're going to launch on. So we've kind of figured out our numbers with these things.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Any more questions, guys? Looks like we covered everything. Yeah, but you do understand, right? Why I'm asking these questions, because like for example, we've seen so many projects, where the devs are saying, marketing wallet, this and that. At the end of the day, it's all still dev team tokens, and then you see a dump, 90% dump, and like, what's happening, guys? Oh, it's pre-sale. No, it's not pre-sale. It's most likely the devs dumping.
Yeah, look, I do understand that, but I think there are ways that there are differentiators in every scenario, right? And I'm sure, and I know I have, but we've all been like burnt by a project at some point in the past. So I think you have to look at the differentiators in terms of where we're going and where we're looking to launch versus these projects. And I referenced one, and I think therefore the approach could maybe be a little bit more, I suppose, forgiving in the sense of like what it is that we're actually doing.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, Gabriel, you had something?
Yes, I wanted to ask if do you plan to have some live trading on your platform in the future?
Sorry, do we plan to have what on the platform?
Live trading on the platform, or
live trading?
Yeah.
Lucas, do you want to answer that development one?
I mean, like, what exactly do you mean by live trading? Because when you buy and sell in real time, that's like live trading, no? Because people will be,
with your with your charts and like basically like you would use Binance or something like that.
Okay, so you will have all the charts. You will have the option to buy and sell. We also will be implementing stop loss. We'll definitely not be doing futures, if that's what you're asking. So all the tools.
So you're not gonna have like your own, liquidity your own pairs is you're not going to be a centralized exchange.
Yeah.
But you will
No,
be linked to, like, for example, like what PooCoin's doing, right? Where you could go on the chart and buy with PooCoin, but it's really going to PancakeSwap. So you could
exactly.
do, yeah.
Yes, we won't be providing liquidity because in the end, it's not what we are. We're not like a decentralized exchange. But you have all the tools you need for trading. So if someone wants to trade, they can definitely do it on our platform. And I personally believe it will be the best platform to do it because it will be the only one with, like, for low cap coins, and a place where it has all in one. And it's not
Yeah, and if
also
you guys
awkward to use.
have the stop losses and all that too, like, and not doing it like in a weird convoluted way, like you have to do with bogged, where you have to like buy their tokens and then you have to send into the contract and all that. If it's like just maybe like some kind of user that just triggers the
And
trade itself, that'd be awesome, because
definitely,
that's kind of what we need in this space.
because we definitely won't be do it like Bog does, because as I've said, we want to be a simple solution. We don't want to overcomplicate things, and we don't want to create utility when there's no need to create utility. We already have utility that I believe is awesome. So there's literally no need to overcomplicate everything and just basically turn away users from the platform. It needs to be simple, and it needs to be, well, I love saying the word cool and awesome, but it's exactly what I want Coinology to be. An all-in-one solution for everything that we need.
Yeah, I think even if you just do like a simple thing like a PooCoin chart where you could also buy and sell, but make it slightly better than PooCoin because you actually have working watch lists, that alone is probably going to be enough to make it better than a lot of these. Because I mean, that's kind of like the main thing I even use PooCoin for. I don't even use PancakeSwap. I just trade on the PooCoin chart. It's easy for me. It's simple. You know, I have my wallet connected. I can see where my trades were at on the chart. You know, like, so I think as long as you can make it like that, but like kind of get improving all the bullshit that KuCoin has, like how there's nothing really works and you have to spend like $500 to get like the top level features. You know, you have to hold their LP and all that.
I'll tell you the thing about PooCoin. PooCoin are millionaires. They could have the best platform on the market. They just don't.
Yeah, but exactly, because they don't care about development. They're just trying to milk it with all their ads until you know, it dies.
Yeah.
If they actually put some of that into their own, into development, it could have been better than TradingView by now.
I mean, like, look at their token. The token has 1,000 volume in 24 hours. That says everything. And in the bull market, they were making insane amount of money on their platform by ads. And they have a shitty product at the same time. They don't care. And a lot of these platforms don't care. Like, our competitors created something. They had like a user base. They made money, and that's it. No one actually is trying to innovate, which was just confusing to me. Because if you don't do that, you will have people like us popping up and just stealing your user base. That's it.
That's exactly what we're doing with the Telegram bot, actually, because there's some buy bots where they basically had a token and then they decided to basically rug everyone. Like, sorry guys, we won't be using our revenue from our ads for the token anymore. We're just, basically, instead of giving 30% to buybacks of the token, they dropped the token but they're still making all that money off the ads, you know. So they essentially rugging the community because they have a product and they don't want to actually, at the end of the day, they kind of drop the token part of it because they don't want to do profit sharing anymore. So
that's actually like the stupid way of going around things, because if you actually do it and the token is a success, you will make more money by investing money into the platform. It's just a very greedy way of doing things. It doesn't make any sense from a business perspective.
Small-minded people, basically scam mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't build a business like Amazon or Google by just making $1 million and then selling your platform, or just giving up and having that million.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
you constantly invest.
That's why Amazon and Google got so big, is because you know, Bezos, you know, Bill Gates, all these Microsoft, they were literally working 20 hours a day, not taking any profits and growing their business for years.
I mean,
instead
yeah,
of, you know, taking 90% profits and not developing anything.
I'm old enough to remember Ask Jeeves.
I remember that too.
they were pretty big, right? And they had this cool thing of, he looked like a butler and everything else, right? And then that was it. That was all they left. But Google kept going. Yahoo kept going. Google beat Yahoo in the end. But I know of another IT company in America that had a search engine at the very beginning, and they decided that it wasn't the future. They didn't want to invest in it, and now you'd never even know what their name was. Like, ultimately, like Lucas has said, if we don't continue to invest, even if we get a user base, if we don't continue to invest, that user base will go to whatever the next big thing is. That's what people do in crypto, right? I mean, a year ago, Deck Screener didn't really even exist. Now you go into a lot of Telegram groups and people are sharing Deck Screener charts, because they at least tried to do something a little bit different. But again, if you look at their platform, there's not so many updates now.
Yeah. Because let me tell you guys, most of the guys in crypto, most of the CEOs, the devs, they really have no business being a CEO or developer or anything, running any company in real life, much less crypto. So that's why there's so many scams. So it's kind of rare to find the actual guys that really are willing to put in the work, the time, and who are actually, qualified to be, to run a business, to run a company.
I think 21 actually ruined the market in this case, because I remember in the 2018 bear market, there were very strong utility projects popping up left and right. And bear in mind, no one actually knew if crypto will survive back then, because it's not like now where you definitely know because there's adoption being thrown left and right. No, people were generally thinking that maybe it's actually over. And you had these very strong projects, like utility projects. I personally remember Phantom being under 1 cent. I bought it like under 1 cent. And it was a pure utility project. And these projects popped up and they're like worth, like at the peak, like billions, just because they were constantly investing into the platform and they were building out the utility. But nowadays, people release some shitcoin, they throw the utility just to raise the funds, and they don't actually want to make it like a tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or a billion company. They're happy like taking their 10,000 and being gone, which doesn't make any sense, because it's not the kind of money to be worth it, I just don't understand why people are just have such short attention spans, and they don't want to actually build something that's useful, that's big, where you actually bring something to the crypto community.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, Lucas, are you like Eastern European heritage?
Why are you guessing that from my accent?
Yeah.
I'm from Lithuania.
That's fine. Okay, yeah. That's Eastern European, because I'm Ukrainian myself.
Awesome, dude. I would never actually tell. I thought that you were American.
Well,
and,
I am American.
I thought you were American as well.
Lithuanians and Ukrainians have a good relationship, so.
Oh yeah, I know plenty. I am in the U.S., but I mean I know plenty of Lithuanians and. Wait, you guys live? I know you guys both from the UK right now.
No, I live in Lithuania, and
okay.
and Martin's the one from the UK. We basically
Hopefully
have
Russia
like a
doesn't attack, huh?
Again, if it does, then Martin, I'm paying you a visit. You'll have to take me on your couch.
Seriously, because
I think all this selling now and not as useful utilities are coming also from the people that are buying the token. Because the other day, I even took a screenshot. The other day, guy said in the chat that he thinks some token is a long-term hold, and long-term hold. And literally, the next sentence under this was, "We will see tomorrow." I took a screenshot of this. I think that's why people are now not investing as much in utilities.
I think like the problem is, from the top of my head, I don't know any tokens, like utility tokens, that actually come out from like being micro caps or small caps into exchanges such as like Binance. Like the big tokens, they already have insane VC funding behind them, and you know that this token will be big. They're like already when they launch, they're like top 300 at least, top 200. And no token is actually trying to get on these big exchanges, not trying to build it out. Because if you go for hype alone and you have like no actual platform or funding, your token will die out naturally, even though if you try like 100%. It's not only actually what you want, you also need to have like a very strong business plan behind all of it, and also backing ideally.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we haven't really talked about marketing. So you guys have the pre-sale in 5 days, and you'll launch. It's going to take it'll take a while, so you guys have time to market between about 2 weeks until launch.
Marketing, unfortunately, Conda had to jump out, but Conda Labs is our marketing partner, so those guys are organising it. And this again goes back to what we were saying before. We're not afraid to spend our own money in actually investing in things that people are experts in. We're then talking to so Conda Labs is our partner. They're on our website, so anybody can verify that. If anybody wants the message, see at Conda, and obviously you know him as well, so you know he's working with us. And then we have another marketing company that we are talking to that will help us market a token that is going onto a tier 1 exchange. So they'll kick in like after the pre-sale. They'll work with Conda, because obviously these guys are experienced with marketing tier 1 tokens.
Okay, good, perfect. Are you guys doing any do you know any of like some of these bigger callers or bigger AMA channels, like like Travelad or partnerships with any of those guys?
We're laughing because we've done an AMA with Travelad and it was awful.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying they're good. I'm just asking if you're doing it.
Yeah, no. To be fair, I don't mind being honest, right? And I'm pretty straight and to the point. You know this, and I like the fact that you're similar. The dude had done no research. He hadn't looked at the white paper. He had no idea about the project, and they were just on a cash grab. So a partnership that we had agreed with them, we ended the partnership because we thought the quality was so poor.
Oh yeah, most of those guys, like I said, they're basically like ass-kissing AMAs. It's literally just patting your back, invest in this project.
Do you know what? It wasn't even that. It was nothing. It wasn't ass-kissing. It wasn't like hard questions. It was nothing. It was. No. I mean, honestly, like I could probably go on about that all night, but I don't want to like bore your community.
I want to tell you guys a little bit, like a little story, but I'll do this after the recording's over.
Yeah, but basically,
my mic will laugh.
Yeah, no. Basically, that's one of the reasons we brought Conda in, is because ultimately he has experience in this space when it comes to like, pre-sale phase, launch phase, and everything else. But we also know that, we'll need like additional stuff. And to be fair, it's Conda that actually introduced us to the marketing company or people that do certain elements of marketing for tier 1 tokens going on tier 1 exchanges. So we'll all work hand in hand after the pre-sale to go to whatever areas we need to go to.
Okay, perfect. By the way, I think we should probably wrap it up, huh? Because we've been talking for a while.
We appreciate your time there.
If anyone has any questions, guys, last minute, and what we'll do is we'll end the recording. We'll do the giveaway, and then I want to tell you guys a little bit about some of some insider things. Any more questions? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know, but Gabriel always pops up with like a last minute question. He's like, "Are you guys a project?" Anyway, all right.
How protecting lifestyle?
All right, so let's go do this. You guys want to do like a final statement, just kind of tie it all in, like a summary. And on everyone, guys, that's here today, I know I've seen that a lot of you joined their group. Let's go. I encourage everyone to, we still got time. We still got a couple days, and the numbers, everything is, things are like we discussed. Things will be, fine-tuned. And everyone could go in their Telegram, guys, and they're doing. But basically, you guys are doing ETH and BSC pre-sale. So is it going to be 2 chains? So this is one thing I didn't really discuss. Is it going to be 2 separate chains, or is it just going to be raised on 2 different platforms, but then you're going to combine it all into one LP?
The second one. It's part of a marketing strategy to basically do like BNB versus ETH. But people have started talking now about like PinkCell versus Gempad. So
Yeah, so PinkCell's doing the Ethereum one, right? And Gempad's doing the BNB side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd actually warn you guys about PinkCell and Ethereum. I mean, I guess I'll tell you about it off the recording. Off the recording. I got a couple more comments to say. I just don't want. I know. I just don't want it to be during the during the official AMA part of it. So do you guys want to go do the final conclusion?
Lucas, you happy to do that one? Just while I quickly just do something.
I was actually going to ask you that because I'm unbanning one person from the group. What a sec. I mean, like, for the final conclusion, I mean, you're the more well-spoken guy, but I highly recommend you guys to read all of our documents, the white paper, the pitch deck, and check the Medium, and you will understand that we're a project that's aiming to actually go from being a low cap to get to know exchanges such as Binance, and being a platform that's actually having adoption. We aim to be one of those examples where projects are raising money and they put us into the competitor list and they try to be better than us. We're aiming to overtake the market by not only taking what's currently on there, but also innovating with things such as Ethereum name service domains, redoing how NFT marketing works. We actually never talked about NFTs, but maybe sometime in the future. And also combining it into one package where everything is awesome to use. It's not clunky. It's not awkward. Basically, bringing a solution such as imagine having Binance for small cap tokens, where there's basically you don't need to go on Coinology tools or whatnot. You have everything in one place. I think that's like for my statement. And for the launch and whatnot, we're literally going to be launching a tier 1 exchange. I don't know many tokens that can actually deliver that, but I can promise you guys that we already have the contacts, we have been vetted, and it's going to happen. We need the pre-sale to be a success for it to happen, but given what we currently have utility-wise and marketing, I personally think it will be, and you will be very happy seeing the exchange. So that's it for the statement.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming here. Everyone that's new here today, thanks for joining our community, for joining the AMA. And this is the kind of project we like to have, the actual like real use case type projects that actually have development done before they take, investors' money. So I'm really glad to see this in this space more. And yeah, good luck on pre-sale in 5 days and launch. And we'll definitely be keeping in touch and supporting you guys. And once again, thanks everyone.